Hi everybody, it's Rhonda Green of Salvage Divas. For those of you that don't know me, I'm a metal artist based out of Ketchikan, Alaska, born and raised here. So I'd like to welcome you to the 2020 Virtual Art Walk, and I hope you enjoy. I'm going to be working on a few different projects like I normally do. Usually I have about 5-6 things going at a time, but I'll try to break it down and figure out what we're going to do today. Tools that you need. Vise. I can't tell you how many times I've used that for many different things, bending. I've got my hearing protection, my mask, gloves, grinders, face mask. This is a new tool I got. This is a bender I can do scroll work, and it's really pretty hard, but it gets the job done. I work mainly with a plasma cutter for cutting through the metal, and this goes up to almost 1/2 inch. It's really a pretty good little workhorse. And then I got my air compressor, my welder. I got a couple new tools this past year. I've got a metal roller here. I have all different dies for it. And then I've got this great pneumatic plenishing hammer, and I love it. It's helps to pound the metal into different shapes that I want. But anyhow, so I frequent the Ketchikan landfill. I have a actual salvage permit where you have to wear the vests and gloves, and so I try to get up there every few weeks and see what kind of scraps I can find. And not too long ago I found this piece of metal. Might have been an old refrigerator cover door or something, I'm not sure, but anyhow, today it's going to become a butterfly. So here we go. So normally I just use a piece of chalk and hand draw out my designs. So I think I'll make my butterfly look something like this. A lot of times I'll use templates and make patterns up if I'm going to be doing quite a bit of a certain thing, just so I can just, easily change my design, or if I want to, get a bunch done and out of the way. So, and working with chalk is pretty easy, because if you make a mistake, it's not a big deal. Just wipe it off and do it again. And I'm not all about perfection. I think kind of adds to something if it's not quite perfect. Although if you ask my husband, he says I'm a perfectionist. And I can agree, because a lot of times stuff will drive me absolutely crazy. So I work outside as much as possible, because working on metal is not a clean hobby. I have dust everywhere. If you notice in some of the background shots, I've got tarps hanging up, and I close those up to keep my metal dust from flying everywhere, because it takes so long to clean up. So anyhow, I'm going to turn on my plasma cutter. Oh, looks like may get a little noisy here because the air compressor is going to get kicked on. It helps to run the plasma cutter. So anyhow, here we go. Well, I'm going to try to do this so you can see maybe a little bit better. I'm not quite sure how this is going to come in, so let's move it a little closer. You probably can't see the design so much because the sun is shining. Yeah, there is a little bit of sunshine. I'm going to stand behind and hopefully you'll at least be able to trace along with the cutter where it's being cut from. And hopefully it won't fall down. I don't know if anybody that's been to the garbage dump has seen cutouts like this, but that's where I usually bring my scraps as well. So, and then this is the end unit, the butterfly. So, what I'm going to do up here next is I'm going to my hat would keep falling down. I am going to set up the grinder and get this ground out, and maybe we'll even turn on the pneumatic hammer and do a little shaping on this. So. Okay, that's a good start. It's the first grind. Usually gets off most of, the tough mill scale or rust, and then I'll usually go back over it and finish it up with a finer grit, usually 80 or 120 grit on my grinder. So I'm going to change that out and usually by the time I get done grinding, I'm starting to get pretty filthy. The mask covers up some of my skin, but the rest of it just turns dirty. So next of all, as you can see, I also put in, I like to use the grinder and do different swirl patterns. So when the light hits it at different angles, it reflects a little bit. So now I'm going to move on to my next piece of equipment. It is the planishing hammer, and I am going to try to put a few bends in the wings and whatnot before I weld. Usually I'm working on several different jobs at once, and so I will just set up maybe 5 projects. I'll do all the plasma cutting, get it all cut out, then I'll grind them all, and then I'll get out my welder, weld them, do whatever I have to do. Just saves a lot of time that way. Otherwise, as you can see, it's just constantly going. Let's get some paint out and see how it works out. Now I'm going to try to fill up this little bit of hole, although it kind of looks kind of cute on the design. And I think I'm going to go ahead and add maybe a few spots around so it gives the butterfly a little bit of dimension. It'll kind of give it different little heat spots. So breathe again. So I'm thinking maybe I use automotive paints quite a bit for fire pits and stuff. If I do any of them colored, I usually use a high temp paint. A little bit of weld spots on there. Gives it a little bit of raised. I don't know if you can see it. Just like little bumpies on it. The backside looks pretty cool. So I'll probably take my grinder to these dark weld spots and clean it up a little bit. So I got some scrap wire. I'm going to try to make an antenna. This seems to be a little bit more flexible than the last piece I tried. So let's give this a whirl. That looks like pretty good antenna. Curls much better too. Look at that. Sometimes the key, A, is don't ever give up. B, sometimes you just have to find easier material to work with. So, I think that'll work pretty well. Get this cut off here. And then I'm going to tack. Going to tack these little pieces right on to the head. So, I don't know how you can see this. Nice if my cameraman were here, but he had to work, so it's just the way it goes. So you can see that. Put my hood on. The gloves. Let's rock and roll. See, when you're welding, sometimes when you end, you got this long piece. So before you start, gotta clip it down. Clip it down. Here we go. Just like that. We got some little antennas. Gosh, that's cute. Okay, I think I'm about ready to do a little bit more grinding, clean up all this dark. And then I think I'm gonna paint it. So here I am about ready to go. I'm gonna just grind off a little bit of this. Get it smoothed out. There's some little tiny little. So I'm gonna try doing some red. And the reason I like this kind of clear paint, you can see the lines that you do underneath with a grinder. You can, it brings out all the swirl patterns that you do. And it drives a nice, pretty color. See, I'm liking that already. I don't know if you can see it in the light when you move. Do, 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 do. And then the side, maybe we'll do some purple. I haven't used this color yet, so I'm kind of excited. It's a lot lighter than I thought it was going to be. Not sure. Not sure if I'm a fan of this. Yeah, I don't know. Guess that's a good thing about paint. You can always paint over it. So I've gone ahead and placed my butterfly ornament in the yard, and I think it turned out pretty cute for a quick little job. But anyhow, I hope you all enjoy your evening. Thanks for tuning in.